guys, it's Kerri-Ann and I'm back. So I finally found some time to get some YouTube videos done, and I thought I would start with some of the requests that I've had. So one of the popular requests I've had is to take you right back to the beginning, one of the first things that I started doing, and just get you into stamping. So there are lots of new crafters out there who have found crafting due to lockdown, so something to keep them busy and occupied. But once you get started, you probably will get addicted, just to warn you. But one of the questions I've been getting is, what is stamping and how do you do it? And one of the things people are noticing are the new ways that, or new to some, but obviously not to many, that stamps actually look. So stamps don't often come now on wooden blocks. You can still find some companies that make them on wooden blocks, but often you'll find them now in packs, and they'll be clear acrylic stamps. Obviously there's other types of stamps. You can get the red backed stamps, you can get Block Walla, which is a fantastic company, which are big solid blocks, but these are actually fantastic. Clear stamps are made by hundreds of companies all over the world, different designs by talented designers. These ones are designed by myself and my team who've worked for Imagine Design Create for the past few years. So these are just to give you an idea of how to use them, but you'll find them in these thin packs now. So the stamps are actually really thin. It's fantastic for storage, so much easier than when they used to all be on wooden blocks. Super easy to clean, and they just last forever. As long as you look after them, they will last forever, and they're fantastic. So I thought I would take you back to the beginning of how to use stamps. So we're just going to go through the real basics of stamping. So as I say, this is our collection, some of our collection of stamps. We've actually got, I think, 70, 80 different designs now in the Imagine Design Create brand. But you'll find them in different size packs. So this is a tiny little, I think they call it A6 pack. Then we've got an A7 pack, and then we've also got an A5 pack here. So the stamps, you can see against my hand, you know, can get really, really big. You can get stamps that are the full size of A5 as well. And there are even bigger stamps than that. There's A4 as well. So it depends on what sort of size cards you're going to make and what you're planning to do with your stamping as to what's the best for you. So there are a few of how the stamps actually look. So when you get your stamps, this has been taken out of the packet. So this is this pack here. When you get your stamps now, they are usually on acetate. So it's a clear acetate, you can peel it off. Keep both pieces of your acetate, that's really important, because then you can, once you've cleaned them, put them back on your acetate. And if you look at the front, there's actually, the back piece is usually clear, and on the front piece here is the design that you're having. So if I take the stamp off, the stamp is actually clear, but the black identifies what part is going to be stamped. So what I mean by that is when it's solid black, that's going to be the solid area of where you've stamped, but obviously you can stamp in any colour. So a common mistake people make is thinking, oh, well, that's always going to have to be black. Your mind just, sometimes people don't realise that actually it depends on the colour of the ink that you're using. So key point to remember is if the solid area there, that's what's going to be stamped out. So if I give you, it's quite handy actually, this set here, because it gives you an idea of what I mean. So this one here is going to have lines, then you're going to have this one with the squares in it, then you've got writing and things here. Now, when you look at writing, if the writing is in black, then that means that is going to be what's coloured, that's what's stamped, what colour ink you're using. If actually the solid area is behind and the writing looks clear on the packet, that's probably going to be what they call a silhouette style, where the background is inked up and they leave whatever colour paper underneath for the writing. So it's quite a nice different style. I have got some stamps of that. I will try and find them and show you. So let's have a quick look at stamping and how you can stamp. I'm just going to move this bit down so you can see. So if I bring a piece of card here, I'm not sure what you think about this angle, let me know, but I just thought it's quite a nice way to work if I can actually show you what I'm doing as well as say hello. So we're just going to open this packet here, and I'm just going to take one of these stamps off here. So you peel it off, and then you stick it onto a stamping block. Now again, there are hundreds of different types of stamping blocks. My favourite stamping block to use is actually clear ones. As you can see, mine have got a bit dirty because I use them for all sorts of other things as well. These stamping blocks actually have marks on them with measurements, so lines where you can help get them straight. You can get rocker blocks, which you rock as you roll. You can get stamping platforms, which I have got, and I'll show you later. Another thing you can get is actually these really great cylinder stampers. So if you're using tiny little stamps, it's quite good because you can get the detail in there. So that's the stamp blocks, as I say, rocker blocks, stamping platforms, solid blocks, lots of different types. Find what's best for you. I think you'll probably find ones like this are actually good for beginners. You hold on to the edges like so, and then you press. It's important when you press firmly, but you don't squish in. And it's also important, I've got nothing on there at the moment, just so you know, when you're pressing, you just firm and lift, okay? So when you're using these aren't rocker blocks, these are solid blocks. So when you're doing it, try not to wiggle side to side because you'll just make a mess. So now we're moving on to the inks. Now, inks is another minefield. There's hundreds of thousands of inks on the market. One of my favourite inks for doing black outlines or writing is Versafine. I've just not found a better black ink so far. So if you're looking for something to do your wording or outlines for colouring in, then I'd highly recommend this. So the way I do it, but there are other ways you can do it, is I take the ink pad to the stamp to the ink pad, and I move it around and just pat it lightly. I'm not pressing in, I'm just patting lightly, okay? And I'm moving it around so that I get all of the stamp. I'm going to bring it over and I'm just going to press, okay? So perfect stamp straight away. And that's because I've moved the ink pad around and then I've stamped firmly, but I've not wiggled it. So perfect stamping each time. Now, if you forget to ink up, so you've got a little bit on from the last time you inked, but you've actually not re-inked again, you'll get a lighter shade, okay? And this is what we call secondary stamping. So the more you continue to stamp without adding extra ink, can you see how you get this shadowing effect? And actually that's a really great technique for stampers. So if you want to have some shading but you've only got a couple of colours but you want to add some depth or shade, then all you need to do is stamp, ink it up once, stamp in your darkest, and then continue to stamp. And you'll get lighter and lighter, okay? So that's a really great technique for newbie stampers, is your secondary stamping, where you get lighter and lighter and lighter. You're not adding any ink, you're just getting lighter, lighter and lighter, okay? So that is using your stamp. So what you would then do is you would either use a damp cloth or a wet wipe. I think it would be better if people could start using damp cloths, I think, so obviously save things on not using wet wipes. But what you can do is rehydrate your wet wipes with a spritz of water. So if you have got wet wipes and you want to use them up, so not to waste, try and just use them more regularly. So spritz them with a bit of water and give them a clean. Once you've then cleaned them, you just stick it back onto your stamp and you keep them all together, okay? So if we have a look then at this one here, I'm peeling it off, popping it on there, just move it to the side. Then we can start looking at coloured inks, okay? So one of my favourite brands of coloured inks at the moment is Memento. I do really love the Nouveau ones as well. I have got a full set of these, and this is the clear mark, which I'll explain again in a second. So I love Memento, and I have a collection of them in large and also in the teardrops. Now another way that you can ink up, so if we look at the way that I've done it before showing you is stamping into the ink, but another way is actually bringing the ink pad to the stamp. Now you can do that, it's great for techniques where you've got larger stamps to the ink pad. So if your stamp is really big and your ink pad is small, then bring your ink pad to the stamp and dab it around. It's fantastic also if you want to do a two-tone effect, which I'll show you in a second. So I'm just inking it up and I'm moving it around, and then I'm going to turn it over and press. Okay, so as you can see again, lovely stamp first time. And what I was saying about before is where you see on here the solid shape, I don't know if you can see the solid shape on there, is then where you get the colour on there. Alright, so just to remind you that that's the part that you're going to get. So that's your very basics of your stamping on that, as I was saying. Then we can move across, so let's have a little look at using this one here. So this one here would be great if you were doing teeny tiny little ones of stamps. So I'm just going to put this teeny tiny little diamond that I've got here. And then I'm going to bring rhubarb stalk and stamp it into there, and then I'm just going to move it around. I'm doing a bit of secondary stamping there. And there we go. Okay, so again, fantastic little tools for your stamping. Now, when we then come along and look at clear mark or embossing inks, people often see these in stores and wonder what on earth these are for. These are for when you are doing your heat embossing. Now, heat embossing involves using a clear mark or an embossing pad, as you'll see there, and powders. Now, I'm just going to reach behind me and find the box of embossing powders. I'm not going to do this here because I haven't actually got my heat gun out here, but you'll find embossing powders like these. So the way in which you would use that is you would ink up your stamp with your clear embossing, you would stamp it, and then you would quickly shake on top some of the powder, some of the embossing powder. And once you've then let it attach to the ink, you would get a piece of paper underneath, tap off the excess, and left behind would be your stamped image with the embossing powder attached. What you'd then do is you'd heat it up, which I'll do in a separate video, and then it would be embossed. So that's what these clear embossing pads are for. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an introduction, a very basic introduction to stamping, and makes you aware of the basics of stamps, why they're in these packets now. It's just so much easier. You can get so much more for your money, and they will, as I say, if you look after them, last forever. So that is a very basic overview of stamping. What I'll do is I will do a separate video now on using stamping platforms. Let's bring you up so you can see me again. Hello. So what I'll do now is a separate video on stamping platforms. So stamping platforms, they are different brands and different varieties. I have Tim Holtz, and I also have, I can't remember the name of this company, but this one's a very popular one. It's actually probably the one I use most because it's light and easy to travel with, and it's perfect for teaching. So this sort of stamp platform I will do in the next video that I make for you. So I'm back. I'm doing videos again. Thanks for watching. If you are here watching this video, thank you so much for staying with me. I hope you found this basic introduction to stamping useful, and I look forward to seeing all your stamping and card making. Take care. Bye everyone.